Hello. Laws of Lashon Harah. We are on chapter 10, number 17, and this is the last halacha in Hilchos Lashon Harah. And then we go on to Hilchos Rechilas, so God willing we'll be done with the first half of this sefer. Let's read this halacha. Im nasa davar shelo kahogan. Something happened, something was committed, an action was done which was inappropriate. Something bad happened. Uba Ruvain, Vishal Shimon, and Ruvain comes in and asks Shimon, asks you, Mi asas davar zeh, who did this? Afilu im hu mevin sheruvain choshdo bezeh, asalo legalos misha asa es davar. Even if you know that Ruvain thinks you did it, it's forbidden to tell him who did it. So something happens, it's not such a good thing, whatever it is, and Ruvain comes and asks you, hey, did you do that? And you didn't do it. You know Ruvain thinks you did it, and you know who did it. You're not allowed to tell Ruvain who did it. Even if you saw who did it. Rather, you should answer him, I didn't do it. Wasn't me. Sho'alo v'lo haya choshto klal b'zeh haya gam ken tzarich l'saper lo k'gon im davar zehu me'enyanim demeid adam l'chaveru v'nishlomo kol ha'pratim shebechlal zeh o im hu me'enyanim demeid adam l'makom v'nishlomo bo hadvarim shekasavnu l'el b'chal dal sif heva zayin ches. Unless we're talking about an action which was done, which is something you could tell him anyway, meaning that it was like some like really big sin that was committed, that according to the guidelines which we spoke about earlier, you would be allowed to tell Ruvain even if he didn't ask you. But we're not talking about that here. We're just talking about, or something, someone did something negative to Ruvain, and he thinks it's you. You're not allowed to tell him who did it. You have to say it wasn't me. And this is according to the letter of the law of a roy lebal nefesh sheyase lifnim mishurusudin. But it is befitting for a bal nefesh, it is befitting for him to go beyond the letter of the law. Where there's a possibility that if you say it wasn't me, he might go and investigate more and find out who the actual person is who committed this act. Even though according to the letter of the law you're allowed to tell him it wasn't me, it's praiseworthy to not tell him that, and to let him think it's you. We find more than this. We find in Sanhedrin, very often we find in the Gemara quotes from Sanhedrin Daf Yud Aleph that the Tanaim would let people think that they did a sin so that the real sinner shouldn't be found out. It says that also in Sefer Chasidim, Simin Chav Beis, V'zel Lashono, V'imhu b'chaburas b'nei Adam, v'nasa davar echad shelo kechogan. If you're in a group, it says in the Sefer Chasidim, and someone does something wrong, v'lo noda mi achote, and they don't know who did it. Sarach shomer anihu shechatasi. You should say that I'm the one who did it, afal pi shelo chata, even though it wasn't you. So there is something praiseworthy of taking the blame when really it wasn't your fault. Now, what we said, according to the letter of the law, a person is able to say that I didn't do it. But you're not, no matter what, you're not allowed to say who did it. Unless it's like a serious sin, where we explained earlier that one is allowed to say who did the serious sin with those guidelines above. Now, in the Ber Maim Chaim, he discusses, what about if the case is, there's only two of you, and if you say I didn't do it, he's going to obviously know that it was the other person. So he says, if it was something which was objectively bad, like a really bad thing, and it was objectively a bad thing, then you're allowed to say it wasn't me, even though Ruvain will figure out who it was. However, if it's just something that wasn't objectively bad, it's just something that Ruvain doesn't like, something that happened, but it's not like an objective sin or something like that. In that case, the Chavetz Chaim says it's Sarach Ian. He's not sure if you're allowed to say that it wasn't me. Seems like you shouldn't do that. So again, if it's a case where it was like a bad sin which was committed, and if you say it wasn't me, he'll figure out it was the second guy right away, then you could say it wasn't me. But if it's something which wasn't objectively bad, and just Ruvain doesn't like it, and there was only two of you, and if you say it wasn't me, they'll figure out that it was the other person, then you should not do that. But again, so just to summarize, if some bad event happens and Reuven comes to you and says, he thinks it was you, you're allowed to say it wasn't me, according to the letter of the law. However, it's praiseworthy not to say that, to let yourself be part of the question of who did it, so that it won't help Reuven figure out who did it. But for sure, it's forbidden to say who did it. That's for sure forbidden, unless it's a situation where it's a really, really bad sin. Then and that anyway, you're allowed to tell Reuven even if he didn't ask. And again, those guidelines were mentioned earlier. Okay, and with that, we finished the laws of Lashon Harah. Now, God willing, next time we'll start with the laws of Rechilus, which is tail bearing, which is the second half of Sefer Chavetz Chaim. And looking forward. Hope everyone has a beautiful day.